Call the meeting to order. All rise for the Pledge of Allegiance, please.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
First item on the agenda is a roll call, please.
Commissioner Kiehna.
Present.
Commissioner White.
Present.
Chairman Holder.
Present. All three being present, none are absent, a quorum exists, so the meeting can begin. There are approval of two sets of minutes, so I'll entertain a motion on the first set of minutes for the meeting of August 21st, 2020.
All right, make that motion. Second.
We have a motion and a second for approval of the minutes of the meeting on August 21st, 2020. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, call for the vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Minutes are approved. The next item is the approval of the minutes on September 1st, 2020. Do we have a motion?
So moved. Second.
We have a motion and a second for approval of the minutes on September 1st, 2020. Any further discussion? Hearing none, call for the vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Minutes for the meeting of September 1st, 2020 are approved. Next item on the agenda is the Highway Department claims. Mike?
Good morning. I just have a few claims this morning.
Okay. All right.
We plan on starting mowing Tuesday, if everything goes well and the weather is suitable. We do have a couple more days of road oiling to help one of the road districts with, but we'll work that in as it comes up.
Okay. If we could try St. Leo's Road, I got another complaint on that one, on the grass, this week. So if we could maybe put that to the top of the list, maybe, hopefully. Appreciate it.
I'd like to see how many complaints we've had.
Yeah.
Compared to the others.
Yeah, well, that's why you make the big bucks. You get to make those decisions. I just told my constituent that I would mention it to you, so.
Mr. Chairman, I would move to approve the Highway Department claims.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve the Highway Department claims. Any further discussion? Hearing none, call for the vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Highway Department claims are allowed. Mr. Reedley, the deck work on the bridge on Mill Creek, is that beginning?
Oh, it will start Tuesday. That's actually the replacement.
Yeah.
The bridge we're replacing.
Okay, I wasn't sure exactly how much was being replaced.
That's going to start Tuesday.
Okay. And that's Mill Creek and
Little Mill Creek.
Little Mill Creek on County Road 5.
Right, yes.
Okay. All right, so
And
that's
the road will be closed beginning Tuesday.
You said that'll be 2 months?
Couple months, yes.
okay, thank you. Next item on the agenda is the general assistance. General assistance for the period was $300. There were no recorded expenses. Do we have a motion to approve?
Move to approve.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve the general assistance of $300 for the period. Any further discussion? Hearing none, call for the vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? General assistance is allowed. Thank you very much, Mr. Reedley.
Thank you.
Next item on the agenda is the Care Center claims. Michelle?
Good morning.
We have 50 residents, 8 med aids.
I'm sorry, say again.
50.
50 residents, 8 med aids.
8 med aids.
How's the testing been going? I know there's a mandate out there.
We tested everybody yesterday, staff and residents. So we'll hopefully get those results in the next 24 hours.
And anything else you'd like to say as far as current rules with visitors and all that?
We still have no visitors. We're still no outside visitors. we have gone back to, no dining, but we're working on that, see if we can get that up and running again, at least get residents back into the dining room.
When you say no dining, you're eating.
Oh, yeah, they're not all together at the dining room. Yeah.
Sorry. It's the COVID thing, Danny, saving money.
In-room dining.
Yeah.
Right.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, I would move to approve the care center claims as presented. Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve the care center claims as presented. Any further discussion? Hearing none, call for the vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Care center claims are allowed. Thank you very much.
Scott doing with his pieces that he-
Yeah, usually 200. So everything's running, we've got hot water and cold water.
Next item on the agenda is the health department.
Good morning, Angela.
Morning, Angela. Your report, please.
If you could, maybe, since you have a quiet voice, could you give your report by the phone? Because we have people that wanted to be on the call and wanted recordings of the call.
Well, we're still battling COVID-19. We went back into the orange, or actually never came out of that as a health status. Region 4 took a step back. As everyone knows, we had some further mitigation that took effect on Wednesday. In spite of feedback and input from the local health department administrators in this region, the governor still chose to close indoor bar and dining. That's going to be in effect for the next 2 weeks, hoping that our numbers will maybe get a little better as far as statistics and numbers. Yesterday, we received 20 new cases. Only 4 of those were Menard inmates. 2 of those are 2 households are now positive, which made up 9 of those cases. 7 are children under the age of 16. I know that the CDC put out a report that kids don't spread the disease as much as adults. We have proof that children will become infected and they will spread the virus. So we are very, very cautious about the schools. We are in contact with the schools every single day. They're calling us about any scenario or situation that they have, and we are trying to give them as much guidance and advice as we possibly can to help to prevent the spread of that virus. As far as the new mitigations, I'm going to follow my same process. If we get a complaint or we feel like that somebody's maybe not in compliance, I'm going to make a phone call to that person. I'm going to follow up with a written letter just to validate that we had that conversation so that we can try to work together and rectify any situation or concerns that the business owner has. So.
Okay. Are there any questions within the boardroom for health department?
Do you count the inmates at Menard in your totals? That's all included?
Actually, currently we have about 60 plus active cases, inmates at Menard. They're making up about half of our active cases right now. But I do want to let the press and everyone know that the Warden Wills and the leadership at Menard has worked very diligently to get this mitigated. They put in several different strategies. They have separated individuals into their own house. They segregated anybody that has been identified as a positive case or a close contact or is exhibiting any symptoms, and it's starting to reflect now in their numbers. For a while, we were getting anywhere from 10 to 12 new inmates. Now it's becoming a couple a day, so we're hoping to get that mitigated pretty quickly.
So the transfers are still in effect?
Transfers are still in effect. The governor actually approved transports to come into both Chester Mental Health and to the prison. Yeah.
I was just going to say, I noticed that yesterday's report, you started breaking it down.
Yes, I did. Yeah. I think it's important that everyone understands how this virus impacts different age groups. So I'm breaking down our statistics a little further. And I think it's very important, since we now have the majority of our schools in Randolph are in person. I want the community to understand how it does impact that age group, so that if we are making some decisions or working with the schools to make decisions on potentially closing classrooms or having to close a school for a period of time, I want the parents and the communities to understand that children can spread that virus. And with all of our experiences in the past with this virus, it doesn't take long. Whenever you have a large group of people together, it will spread like wildfire. So we are doing everything we can to protect the schools and to ensure that the kids can be in-person learning as much as possible. We do understand that that is the best environment for learning, but we also have to consider their safety as well.
Angie, back on these transfers, I know you and I have talked way back about this. Have you had any contact with anybody in the health department, or if you're putting any pressure back on the state to slow that down? I know you're not a fan of it.
I'm not a fan of it at all, but it came straight from the governor's office. And in spite of everything that we've said, you know, I feel like that I have spoken to every single person that I can. And I was basically told that I don't have the authority and it's outside of my scope. So
I want to let you know that I talked to my director too, and she's supposedly, but again, we're hung up with the judge's ruling on this.
Right, and that was what the Illinois Sheriff's Association filing suit. Isn't that what started that? That legally they have to accept inmates from the county jail?
Yes, and if you're looking at the top tier sheriff departments, mainly Cook County, wanting to get the people out.
Well, we were to the point where we were over capacity here.
Yeah.
It wasn't just Cook County, Randolph County, we had a real problem. We didn't get rid of those inmates. We were out of room. We were having to let people go because we were out of room.
but I will say, for both Chester Mental Health and the NARD, the leadership recognizes that if they have anybody that's new and incoming, that they will segregate them for the 2-week period to ensure that they're not infected and to keep them away from general population so that they are not a threat. So they are doing that. They do recognize that that is an important element of this virus. So.
Okay, and I've asked Jeremy Walker, our state's attorney, to come this morning. If people have questions for him, or if he'd like to make a statement about what's going on, the governor's new rules, if it changes anything with how we're approaching any of this.
Yeah, Commissioner White, not really. I mean, to me, and Angie and I have had these conversations over the last few weeks whenever we could see what was coming. You know, our enforcement plan is not changing. It's no different than it was in May whenever the rope started to unravel. It is no different than it was in July. It is no different than it was in August 2 days ago. There is no criminal enforcement of the latest mitigation efforts, in that if a bar chooses to stay open, they are not going to face criminal penalties. I know that may disappoint people because it literally does seem like people want to be arrested or want a fight or want us to do something, but we're not. Nobody is going to be arrested for violating the latest mitigation efforts that just went into effect, the closed indoor dining, the closed indoor bar service. It just isn't going to happen, and it can't happen. There is no criminal penalty for violating the latest mitigation efforts. The only criminal penalty that exists at this point as it relates to any of this COVID issue is the face mask coverings, and that is not against an individual. There is a criminal penalty that if a business operates and is not making their customers wear a mask, there's a 3-step process that you have to go through. They first get a verbal warning from the health department. They then get a written warning. And if there's a third violation, then they could be sent to my office where there could be a criminal proceeding against the business, not an individual, the business. and they could be fined up to $2,500. That's been in effect for about a month now, and I have never received any complaints in my office, so I think we're doing a good job there. But there is no criminal penalty for businesses that choose to violate this. The enforcement mechanism is going to be complaints to the Illinois Liquor Commission and or the Illinois Gaming Board, and that a business that chooses to continue to operate, and if there is a evidence to show that they are in violation of these mitigation efforts, that can be forwarded on to the Gaming Commission and the board, and then they will take whatever action that they want to. That is a state issue, that is not a county issue. We, being the county, are not going to be around looking for people that are open. Chief Deputy Peters is here from the Sheriff's Office. I can assure you that I can speak for him that our deputies do not have time to go around and look for violations, look for complaints. Now, if a neighbor sees that a bar is open and at 1 o'clock in the morning when they should be closed anyway, and that person calls the police and says, hey, there's a business that's in operation, if there's a deputy available, would that person drive by there and see, yep, they are open? I noted that, and then that report could get forwarded on to the Gaming Commission if people ask for it. But we are not going to kick in the door. We are not going to call anybody out on the carpet and arrest them. It just isn't going to happen. If people feel that their constitutional rights are being violated by these latest mitigation efforts, open up and see what happens.
You can.
It's your call. Nobody is telling you that you can't do that. And if you want to run the risk of losing your license, do it. I hold a license by the Illinois Attorney Registration and Disciplinary Committee. If they were telling me you can't do something, I personally would choose not to do that because I value my law license very much, and I'm not going to do anything to lose it. But if you're a small business and feel that you're up against the wall and you've got no choice but to open up your doors, again, we're not going to kick in the door. We're not going to arrest you. If you want to run the risk of losing your license, you do so at your own peril. But the County of Randolph is not telling you that you can do that. The Health Department is not telling you that you can do that. The only other enforcement mechanism that exists is that there is a law that's been on the books since I wrote it down. I think it was the early 2000s, which is the closure order. The Health Department does have the ability to close down a business that is operating in an unsafe manner that's causing a risk to the general public. That has nothing to do with COVID. That was not put on the books because of COVID. It existed years before we even knew what COVID was. So if there is a business that is doing something that is a problem, there is the ability that the Health Department could say, look, you're going to have to close down. Then that is obviously very big power. The Health Department has to get consent from that business to say, yes, we did mess up and we agree we should stay closed, or we have to go to court. We have to file a petition within 48 hours to have a court determine that the Health Department's actions were reasonable, given the information that we have. So now, and then if that is then violated, there's a possibility of a criminal charge as well too. But again, we have not had to take that steps. We don't anticipate having to take those steps. But that is kind of the lay of the land as far as the enforcement goes, if that answers everybody's questions.
Okay. Any questions, Mary, Dan? Is there any questions from anyone who is listening in on the phone at this time?
This is Deb Lewis.
Okay.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Good morning. I appreciate everything Jeremy has said, and also the health department and the rest of you. I'm not a small business owner. I do live in the country, and I support all the services around me, and we need those services. I think that we have a lot of Karens that are calling people in. For some reason, I don't understand. If they're afraid to be out in public, then they need to stay home. But people need to quit drinking the Kool-Aid and realize that there are hundreds of people in our Walmarts and big department stores that are being allowed to stay open when there may be 10 people in our small businesses. And we need to know what course of action we have to affect this. We've been calling senators and representatives and Pritzner's office, and everybody says their hands are tied. What can we do to support our businesses? Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for your comment. Anything on it, Jeremy?
Well, I mean, as far as people's recourse, the old saying goes, elections have consequences. You know, if you don't like what is going on right now, J.B. Pritzker, if he runs for re-election, is going to be up for re-election in 2 years. I certainly can tell from people's sentiment where that may go, at least in Southern Illinois goes. You know, your state legislatures, everybody is up this time around. I'm up for re-election, though luckily I'm unopposed. But if you don't like what's going on, you need to make sure that you exercise your constitutional right to vote in the upcoming election. Elections have consequences. And we're dealing with those consequences right now. And I just would ask that people please get out and exercise your right to vote here in November. And as far as small businesses goes, they're still open for outside. It's a beautiful evening. My wife and I talked about it tonight. We're going to go find a place to go eat.
So, any other comments on the people listening in?
Yes.
Please.
Hello.
What's your name, sir?
Hello. My name's James
Hello.
Lolan.
Good morning, James.
Hello.
Your comment?
Yes, sir. And fellas, I'm a truck driver. I drive over many different states. I see many different places. And like Deb Lewis says, y'all are saying, well, you don't really have restrictions. Go ahead and eat outside. In case anybody didn't realize, it's going to get mighty cold eating outside. It is a crock of crap, and if people don't feel safe, don't go out in public. Lift these restrictions all we can. I realize your hands are somewhat tied, but somehow we got to be able to push the issue to get our places back open to where we can run a normal lifestyle and not lose our tax money because people are going to other states to buy goods. And I'm one of them. If I have to go to another state, I do go to it. So I am not supporting Pritzker's bullshit. So I'm another one. I would love to find another way to help push the envelope to get rid of some of the stuff that's going on. If you have any ideas, I understand the election, I'm all for it. Elect him out. If we can push the issue before that, let me know how I can help.
I think I've seen some petitions, or at least one petition from Redbud being circulated. Excuse me. That's one way that our voices can be heard. We circulated, or we didn't, but business owners circulated a petition for reopening, and maybe some petitions from the public would be in order to help get the governor's office to listen to us this time also. And just one other comment I'd like to make is people, as you know, we have 3 commissioners in Randolph County, and people act like if it has to do with Randolph County, we have the authority to make whatever decision and do whatever we want. That's just not the case. Our authority only goes so far. We cannot make decisions that override what the governor says. You know, this is a battle with the governor's office, and we've all advocated for our local businesses, for our local citizens, including Angela at the health department, who has her hands bound by the Illinois Department of Public Health. She was not an advocate for closing the restaurants. She fought with them, and I've spoken with Representative Rice, with Terry Bryant, and Representative Terry Bryant, and Senator Paul Schimm, and they're all telling us that they're advocating for us, but all the talk is just falling on deaf ears. So, as Jeremy said, I think it's a very good idea that we all remember this in 2 years when Mr. Pritzker is up for election, and decide, you know, if that's the kind of authority figure we want as our leader of the state. So is there any questions on any of that?
Hopefully don't have to wait 2 years.
No.
Any further comments from individuals listening in on the phone, please? Okay, hearing none, I suppose we will close this discussion at this point in time and move on down the agenda.
We need a motion.
Do we need a motion?
Okay, Mr. Chairman, I would move to approve the health department claims.
I would second that.
We have a motion and a second to approve, excuse me, a motion and a second to approve health department claims. Any further discussion? Hearing none, call for the vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Health department claims are approved. Next item on the agenda is approval of the courthouse claims. Has everyone had a chance to review them, and do we have a motion?
Review them, and I would make a motion that we approve the courthouse claims.
I would second that motion.
We have a motion and a second to approve the courthouse claims. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, call for the vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Courthouse claims are allowed. Next item on the agenda, we have an appointment for the Chester Memorial Hospital Board. And I recommend for appointment. One moment, please. Thank you. Recommend for appointment is, Christina Bowles for a term that expires July 1st, 2022.
Mr. Chairman, I would make that motion to approve Christina with the thoughts and appreciation of the board to Mary Alice Welge for her time on the board. Certainly she struggled with the death of her husband, Don, and working with the family as changes go not only with the family but in the company. So let it be said today in this meeting that we appreciate all that Mary has done for the Memorial Hospital Board. And with that, I would make a motion to approve Christina.
I would second that motion.
We have a motion and a second to approve Christina for the Chester Memorial Hospital Board for a term ending July 1st, 2022. Any further discussion? Hearing none, roll call vote, please.
Commissioner Kiehna.
Aye.
Commissioner White.
Aye.
Chairman Holder.
A. With 3 ayes and no nays, the appointment is hereby approved. Next item on the agenda is public comment. Does anyone else wish to make any comments? Anyone on the phone? Hearing no additional.
I would like to make a comment, please.
Okay.
I just want to thank Angela for all her hard work. I've been deeming her the busiest woman in Randolph County. And I want to commend her and her department because it is very difficult from their position to try to deal with not only all the COVID cases that they have to monitor, but also deal with the businesses and all that. So I want to thank you very much. And Mike Holster is here this morning. I want to thank him. He's been going to bat for us, getting us PPE.
Can I add that Rick and Nancy are right?
Oh, yeah. Rick and Nancy have been awesome too. So we thank EMA for all their hard work and all this. And Jeremy Walker, thank you so much for your comments. And Jared Peters from the Sheriff's Department, thank you for being here. And we appreciate everybody's support and clarity. The rumor mill is wound up tight right now, so we want to make sure, and we appreciate you guys from the paper getting all this down because all these things are so important at a time like this that we get out good communication, that people understand where we are as a county with all this. So thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you for your comments. Anything else? Hearing none, this concludes public comment. First item under new business, a proclamation for Constitutional Week. Oh, please, Mark.
Okay, well, welcome. I know we have members of the Liberty Bell of the West chapter with us this morning. Good morning. So we have a proclamation in front of us for Constitution Week. Whereas Liberty Bell of the West chapter, Illinois State, the National Society Daughters of the American Revolution, is requesting the Randolph County Board of Commissioners to issue this proclamation for Constitution Week.
Whereas September 17, 2019, this should be 2020?
Yes.
Okay. Marks the 233rd
It's the 33rd.
anniversary of the drafting of the Constitution of the United States of America by the Constitutional Convention, and whereas it is fitting and proper to accord official recognition to this magnificent document and its memorable anniversary, and to the patriotic celebrations which will commemorate the occasion, and whereas Public Law 915 guarantees the issuing of a proclamation each year by the President of the United States designated September 17 through 23rd as Constitution Week. Now therefore, by virtue of the authority vested in Randolph County Board of Commissioners of the State of Illinois, do hereby proclaim the week of September 17 through 23 as Constitution Week, and ask our citizens to reaffirm the ideals that the framers of the Constitution had in 1787 by vigilantly protecting the freedoms guaranteed to us through this guardian of our liberties, remembering that lost rights may never be regained, and ask our citizens to ring their church bells and or school bells at 2 p.m. Central Daylight Time, September 17, 2020, as part of a nationwide commemoration of the signing of the U.S. Constitution in 1787. In witness thereof, I hereunto set my hand and cause the seal of the county of Randolph, State of Illinois, to be affixed this 4th day of September of the year of our Lord, 2020. Mr. Chairman, I would move to approve the proclamation for Constitution Week.
I would second that.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to approve the proclamation for Constitution Week. Any further discussion, comments, or questions?
No, we appreciate it. We strongly support our Constitution and following up on Jeremy's comments and so forth of all of what we should be following. So we appreciate everyone respecting each other's rights.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
And Emily, do you have that in a text format that you could send to Joe so we could make that correction and get all the signatures?
No, I have it, but Carol was my typist and we'll have to wait until it's on her computer.
Okay.
And she's not here.
Carol's not here today.
And,
All right, can we simply make a note then?
We'll do it, yeah.
Yeah.
And we'll get all that I just signed.
corrections, okay.
Okay.
Thank you. Yeah.
Thank you.
It's, and maybe my fault for not doing them.
Yeah, I didn't catch it either.
No, copy and paste.
Looking at this at the last moment, I didn't catch those.
I do believe that regardless of the year, it is always set on the 17th.
It is, it's always on the 17th.
Yes, okay.
No, that's the only thing, it's, in the third, actually, anyhow, we recently received from our state, people that it was the 233rd, whereas I think there may be there had been a problem there in the past, but we have it now corrected.
Okay, thank you very much. Okay, we're ready for the vote. Roll call vote, please.
Commissioner Kiehna,
Hey.
Commissioner White,
Hey.
Chairman Holder.
Hey, with 3 ayes and no nays, the proclamation is hereby adopted. Next item on the agenda is a raffle license for Ducks Unlimited,
Several.
a continuing process.
So you apparently are, they're doing a separate raffle for each item that they are, going to.
I have no issue with supporting this. We've supported them in the past. They're a good organization. I would move to approve these applications.
I would second that as a grouping. I think there's 3 of them.
Approve them all as one group.
There's 2.
Okay.
2, yes.
We have a motion and a second to approve the raffle license for the Illinois Ducks Unlimited. Any further discussion? Hearing none, call for the vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Raffle licenses are hereby approved.
I'm sorry, we need how many copies of it?
Well, how about we all sign one and then she can make some more copies?
If,
Okay.
if they're going to do a picture, we need Joe.
Okay.
You want more copies, or you want?
Guess we can copy the.
And sign it.
Okay.
It's handy for that one, just so we get them. Yeah.
If there's anybody left on the phone, we got a clean copy of the Constitution Week proclamation that we're signing, and then, Joe Livery is gonna get them copied for us. We can always scan them and send them out if anybody wants one.
Okay, next item on the agenda is utility contract extension, Constellation Energy, New Energy, Inc. Mr. White, Commissioner, would you like to mention a few things about this?
Yes, a couple of years ago, when I was chairman, I kind of got tired of hearing from utility people constantly saying, well, on this contract, on that contract, I can get you a better rate. And so I went to an energy seminar over at Randolph College and met up with a company called AGE, Affordable Gas and Electric, who said, well, we can take all your contracts, I believe there's 11 of them, for the county's Ameren contract, we can combine them all and bid them all as one rate, to get the rate way down, bidding so much power at one time, and we can lock it in for up to 3 years. So right now, we are currently under a 3-year contract with AEP Energy, that has saved the county a lot of money. Now, recently I've contacted our rep from AGE, Bruce Wallace, and he has said that we could lock in for another up to 3 years from our contract that ends September of 2021. With the current political climate and the hurricane coming in, maybe destroying some of the energy infrastructure in the United States, which would drive the prices up, I felt it was good to look at the current rates, see what we could lock in. And it would be my personal preference, looking at rates from 12, 18, 24, and 36 months. We could save a little bit more money for the 18 months, which would, and that's from our current rates, which are already a highly discounted rate. Over the 18 months, we could save $5,100, but then over 24 months, which includes that following summer, it's only about $240 less, $4,897. And Fresh, I'll give you this sheet so you can see it. My personal recommendation would be to go with a 24-month contract, so that we could stabilize our rates for an extra 2 years past the September 2021 contract that we're currently in. So, does anybody have any questions on that?
I think it makes good sense. We're being stewards of the county's money. We're extending the savings that we're getting, plus adding to the savings for a couple of more years. I would make a motion to approve.
I would second that, and that's the 24-month contract?
Yes, the 24 months.
I would second that.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to approve the 24-month extension contract for utility rates. Is there any further discussion?
Just a clarification, so we stay with the current rate we've got until September of 21?
September 2021.
And then these new rates kick into effect for another 24 months.
Yes.
So in effect, will be a full 3 years.
Right, and they did bid us out to 36 months, but the savings weren't that advantageous, so I think, which they still are a little bit better than what we're getting now, but I think the best savings for the county and everything would be the 24 months overall.
Okay, we have a motion and a second on the table for the utility contract for 24 months. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, call for the vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? The contract is hereby adopted.
And just for a little clarification there, we are currently with AEP Energy. AGE bid us with four energy companies, and Constellation had the best rate, so the new contract will be with Constellation.
Okay, next item on the agenda is a rescission of Resolution 20-16. We have a little information on.
The parcel, that was a tax.
Tax,
Resolution?
a resolution of tax,
Redemption.
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 Partial redemption.
Yes, and after this was done, we discovered that that parcel was part of another parcel. So that's why it needed to be rescinded.
So they'll bring it back to us if there's a need.
I guess they will bring it back if there is a need, yes.
Okay. Mr. Chairman, I would move to approve the rescinding of Resolution 20-16.
I would second that motion.
Have a motion, a second, to rescind Resolution 20-16. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, call for the vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? The resolution 20-16 is hereby rescinded. Next item on the agenda is a discussion and a letter concerning support of the Pierre Menard statue being removed from the Capitol in Springfield and brought to Randolph County. Do we have, Mark, you want to present it, or Ron, would you want to present it or discuss it any?
Well, this is Ronnie, and I've had a lot of people call in support of bringing the Pierre Menard statue back to Randolph County. This is where Pierre Menard's home was and still is, the Menard home, down by Fort Kaskaskia, or Fort Gage, depending on what title. Don't call it that. I don't know. I've heard
Emily corrected me.
Okay, so maybe Emily can speak to that, but I personally had people talk to me and call me about supporting this. I've gotten several letters. I did see an article in the County Journal this morning that somebody asked that it not be brought back to Randolph County. So I guess we're open to discussion. Emily, would you like to speak to this?
That letter that I saw in County Journal needs a little fact checking. A lot of information there was completely accurate. So.
Well, certainly, I think you've gotten communications from the Menard family that is highly in support of having the statue come down to Randolph County, the home county for Pierre Menard, where he is buried, where his house lies and his plantation, let's say, existed. And
well, he spent his whole life in this area, serving and helping people.
Certainly, as we look at the good work of Pierre Menard, certainly being a part of the Indiana Territory, being the president of the Illinois Territory, where the Mississippi River was the frontier edge of the United States, where his good work, even extending into his family. We know that there was a man that was born on Kaskaskia Island who was a free man of color by the name of John Willis Menard, who ended up being the first African-American elected to the U.S. House of Representatives. Well-read, wonderful graduate of Iberia College, went to Louisiana and Florida, served in the state legislature in Florida, author of poetry, just a well-read member of the Menard family. And so there are so many positives that it's hard for us to let this statue go to another area of the state. who has requested it. And with the Menard families requesting, many of our citizens have reached out to us and say, bring it back to Randolph County. So
I've heard a lot of positivity for that also.
So with that, we've crafted a letter, and where the letter is right here. Oh, okay. Care to read it into the record? I can. Thank you. This is a letter to Andrea Aggert, architect of the Illinois State Capitol. Dear Ms. Aggert, on behalf of the citizens of Randolph County, we would like to request the Pierre Menard statue be allowed to be placed in our French colonial district. Pierre Menard is buried in Randolph County, and his beautiful home overlooks the site of the first state capital of Illinois on Kaskaskia Island. Menard was a member of the Indiana Territorial Legislature from 1803 to 1809, and president of the Illinois Territorial Council from 1812 to 1818. The Illinois Territory was a frontier region of the United States, formerly part of the Illinois country, a portion of New France administered originally from Quebec and later transferred to Louisiana. Upon the admission of Illinois as a state in 1818, the population of the new state was divided between French-speaking and English-speaking citizens. To balance the ticket, Menard became the state's first lieutenant governor, serving from 1818 to 1822 with the first governor, Shadrach Bond. The Menard family had earned a status as fine public servants. Although Pierre Menard was a slave owner during his years in Randolph County, he earned a reputation for treating his extended family well and giving of himself to the Kaskaskia community. As an example, one of his family members, John Willis Menard, was born a free person of color in Kaskaskia in 1838. He clerked in the Department of the Interior during Abraham Lincoln's administration and became the first African-American to be elected to the United States House of Representatives. He later served in Florida's state legislature and as a justice of the peace. Randolph County is willing and able to transport the statue and has the resources to properly mount and maintain the statue. We understand the statue will need to undergo regular maintenance and must be placed in a secure environment. We believe that it would be most fitting for the statue of Pierre Menard to be on display in the area where he served as Illinois' first lieutenant governor and his family lived. Respectfully, the commissioners.
I'd just like to make a comment. It's my understanding that these letters will go before a committee in Springfield that will vote to either allow the statue to go to an area, which the other most likely place would be Starved Rock, where Pierre Menard, his son, had a home, and that's another area that's trying to get the statue. But the committee will make a choice whether they allow the statue to go out or to put the statue in storage and not allow it to go out to any of the areas that are requesting it. So that's just the process that we're working within right now.
Thank you very much. So do we have a motion to adopt said letter?
So moved.
Second. We have a motion and a second to adopt said letter. Any further discussion? Hearing none, call for the vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? The letter is hereby adopted. Thank you very much. Last item on the agenda, the IEAPCCR rule resolution. This is a resolution requested, pardon?
I did not.
Oh.
Oh,
Okay, no, I meant this resolution.
resolution.
Oh, I have a copy here. It's fairly short. It's a resolution requested by Baldwin, by the power plant. It has to do with the closure requirements for ash fills and storage versus either closure in place, and I'll hand the press a fact sheet on it in just a little bit, closure in place versus transporting the materials off site somewhere else. So I put it before the board for adoption, and since I haven't read anything this morning, I guess I can do one preview. A resolution by the Randolph County Board in support of environmentally safe and balanced requirements for the closure of coal combustion residual surface impoundment. Okay, whereas Randolph County, Illinois, herein the county, by and through the elected county board, has determined that it is in the county and its constituents' best interest that the county take an express position in support of the coal-fired electric generating industry, herein the industry in Randolph County, Illinois, whereas the industry provides revenue to the county through sales and real estate taxes, employment of many of its citizens, and patronage of businesses, and whereas the industry has provided the county with an affordable and reliable power for decades, and whereas the Illinois Environmental Protection Agency, ILEPA, and the Environmental Protection and the Illinois Pollution Control Board, docket R2020-019, has proposed a rulemaking setting requirement for the management and closure of coal combustion residual surface impoundment that are broadly applicable in Illinois and environmentally sound, and whereas the Illinois EPA should be afforded adequate discretion to approve closure applications taking into account site-specific conditions, science, facts, and site-specific analysis should drive regulatory decisions, and the rules should not create a preference for one closure method over another, and whereas the county supports balanced rules providing options for the closure of CCR surface impoundment that are environmentally protected, economically reasonable, and sensitive to local needs and concerns, and whereas a mandate for closure of all CCR surface impoundment by removal could be detrimental because it could result in increased truck traffic and safety and risk for years to come, higher carbon emissions, unavoidable fugitive dust and wear and tear on roads in the county and its commitments. Now, therefore, for the consideration and foregoing recitals, the county hereby resolves that it supports the final rule setting requirement for safe, economically reasonable, environmentally protective closure of CCR surface impoundments in Randolph County, passed this day of September 2020. Okay. Fact sheet on the material. Gentlemen, you familiar with this?
So
Yes, I thought you were.
this is the fly ash.
Fly ash impoundment.
Yes. That is what's left over after they burn the coal. It's currently being stored basically in ground at the Baldwin Energy Complex. And they're just basically asking to cap it and leave it in the ground instead of getting it out, creating a lot of dust and a lot of commotion, and having it trucked out of Randolph County. So, Jeremy, do you have any?
I've got no knowledge about it.
Oh, okay.
Very rarely am I speechless, but you caught me.
I would only add that this rulemaking on behalf of the Environmental Protection Association basically only gives Vistra two options. We either find a landfill somewhere else that will accept the fly ash, dig it up, truck it there, and as we speak, there is no landfill around that is designed to handle that amount of fly ash. Now, if we think about it, the power plant started around 1970-ish, okay? So we're here on 50 years worth of fly ash that's been put in the ground out there, safely stored, that type of thing. So our option is to send it somewhere else. The county will have to bear the burden of all the truck traffic, and the citizens will have to deal with all the fly ash residuals and all that comes along with it. Or safely put a cap on what we have out there that's designed to hold it and protect it and keep it where it's at. Now, the other thing I would add, and it makes sense to me that we would simply cap it, we have been given proposals in recent years stating that our fly ash is actually worth something, whether it be for building materials or whatever. There was a proposal not long ago for us to allow a company to use that material to build blocks, road materials, that type of thing. That still exists and could be even more important as the future brings, whatever it brings. So I think it makes sense for us to have them cap it, not put those trucks on the road, and keep it as a resource for possible use in the future.
One last point I'll mention that you did, and they were estimating it would take 20 years to truck it off-site.
Well, you convinced me it's a good idea.
Well, and think about the cost of that and the raising of our utility rates, because of it. So I don't know anybody, especially with the complaints I've been seeing lately, about utility rates in my hometown. I don't think anybody wants to deal with higher utility rates for something that doesn't have to be done.
Mr. Chairman, I would move that we approve the proclamation that would help keep the fly ash in place and to dome it.
Resolution and support.
And support.
I would second that motion.
We have a motion and a second to adopt the resolution in support as presented and read into the record. Any further discussion? Hearing none, call for the vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? The resolution is hereby adopted. We have no need for executive session, so the next item on the agenda is recess until the next meeting on September 18th, 2 weeks from today, 9 a.m. here in the boardroom.
I would make that motion.
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second to recess. Any further discussion?
Before we finish, do we want to, no, we'll do that in our next meeting.
Yes, we will adopt.
Okay,
Preliminary.
then I'm good, let's go through them.
Okay. Call for the vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? We stand in recess until September 18th, 9 a.m. right here in the boardroom. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
I think Emily would want to get a picture.
Does anybody on the phone have anything else to say before we close the meeting on the phone? Hearing none, have a wonderful day.